The thing is, like in that middle tier of growth, there's a lot of turbulence, right? And in Ayurveda, we would call it rajas. It's a lot of fighting with your own fears, anxieties, anger, your emotional tendencies, stagnation or stubbornness, right? Like we cling on to things because that's where the ego starts to fight us.
What are the core competencies in Club Phoenix?
Yeah. So in terms of core competencies, we have six. And it's actually been evolving in how I conceptualize it, but there's basically a pyramid. And so there's two on each tier. And I call it the pyramid of growth. And so, or like a cycle of growth, where on the bottom you actually have um, your homeostasis.
Mhm.
So that's where we look into Ayurvedic concepts like Agni and Ojas, your resilience, right? And
Mm.
your ability to digest. And we look at that like in terms of your physical body, but also your mental health.
Mhm.
What are you doing to maintain your system so that when shit hits the fan, whenever things get difficult, you're not just smacked in like completely out of commission,
Mhm.
or like just completely taken away from what you want to achieve. So when there's resilience, you also start to have a little bit of clarity, right? You start to have the stability to figure out what it is you actually want in life, rather than trying to constantly fight for survival. So we need Agni and Ojas to do that. Um, Once we have that, then we have our second two on the second tier. And that those two are habits and true, what I call true you.
Mm.
So learning who you truly are and creating the habits to start to build on who you are so that you can go for like your highest goals, your true purpose and whatnot. The thing is, like in that middle tier of growth, there's a lot of turbulence, right? And in Ayurveda, we would call it rajas. It's a lot of fighting with your own fears, anxieties, anger, your emotional tendencies, uh, stagnation or stubbornness, right? Like we cling on to things because that's where the ego starts to fight us.
Mhm.
And so yes, we want to change, we want to make things better, but we always have this but in mind, right?
Mm.
And like that's based off of those motions where we are attached to something. So whether that be like we're judging the way that things should be, or
Mhm.
we're afraid of how things are going to turn out, etc., or we just want everything to stay the same because that's comfortable. All of that is within the second tier. And so habits where we're forming healthy habits, like that helps us break away from what we thought we were and opens up possibilities for who we can become.
Yeah, it really tunes into that our habits shape our personality. And so they're bending into for purpose, their next
Yeah.
purpose. So their habits are shifting into their next purpose. That's great.
Yeah. So the highest tier, I have two. They're called activate, and I believe the final one is creativity and purpose. So that final tier I also call building the muscles to highest self,
Mm.
because when you have the clarity and you figure out what you truly want and you give yourself permission to have desires, right? Like those deep, deep desires that you often talk about.
Mhm.
Because a lot of millennials, and we could talk about this later, do not give themselves permission for that.
Mm.
Um, then when it becomes clear, you could see the top of the mountain, but because you've never been to the top of the mountain and you suddenly are at this new like level, you don't know, or like you know what you need to do, but the muscles that you need to get to that top are very, very weak, right?
Mhm.
You don't have the habits. Like I know, like learning in this past year with you, there are certain things that I know I need to do that I've resisted my entire life that I need to do, and they're
Mhm.
just very, very weak muscles.
Yeah.
Um, So that's what activate is like identifying what is that muscle that you need to
Mm.
um, cultivate, and then learning the discipline in order to do it. And then the creative and the purpose, that's like when you do access that, and now you can really start to tap into your deeper creativity, the creativity that is healed rather than the creativity that comes from pain and suffering. So that's kind of the gist of what I see Club Phoenix as and the evolution of what you can become.